We're going to invite Damien Joyce to come and join me on the stage. Let's give Damien a big welcome from my old alma mater, St. Jarlath's. Damien, good to see you. We'll jump in here. All that's missing is a fire, which would be lovely, but we can, in the interests of finishing this off, we won't. So Damien, tell us your story. You're from Clifton, is that right? Where you're still based and still working away?
Yeah, so I suppose I'm 37 now and started having issues with my hip in my late 20s. I was kind of your typical young fella playing absolutely everything between football and rugby and soccer and the whole lot, and wouldn't have been too educated in terms of rest or recovery. In fact, wouldn't have been educated at all, and played away for years without too much issue. And then in kind of mid to late 20s, the old hip started getting progressively worse and worse, and I suppose then by the time I got to 28 or 29, it was having a kind of a reasonably kind of impactful, day-to-day effect on my life,
Yeah, so at that point you took control. So let's wind the clock back. I mean, you're the exact reason why organisations like the GAA would have talked about burnout, because you're a talented sportsman across a number of different sports. So the fact that you're from Clifton, they have a very successful rugby team over there, so that was a natural pull for you to play with the Connemara All Blacks. You played club, you played with a very successful school, St. Jarlath's, and you played county. So at any one time, are you looking at maybe playing 4 or 5 different teams in 1 week?
Yeah, well, it's funny actually. I was thinking about it on the way over here, and I remember one bank holiday weekend in particular playing. I think I played 5 games in 4 days, which which looking back on was absolutely ridiculous. But playing maybe like a schools match on a Friday, a minor club match on a Saturday, an intermediate club match on a Sunday, and then playing a county match on a morning, followed by a club match with the under 16s or something ridiculous on the Monday evening. And then I wondered why my hip wore out,
So it wasn't one particular collision. This was a succession injury in terms of the effect it took on your hip. And what was the point? What age were you when you felt, okay, enough is enough, I need to do something now?
I think about 28 years of age, and I was having a good bit of bother. And as I said, it was just, I think it may even have been Dave Hanley who spoke earlier, who recommended taking a trip down to Waterford and knocking into the Whitfield Clinic.
So were you trying to deal with it then with physiotherapy, the impact of the pain and the hip?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I'm based between Galway and Dublin, so I was spending a lot of time in the car, getting up and down, and was at the stage there where you'd have to pull in that loan every day on the way up if you were up, and coming back down, and you couldn't do any more than maybe 55 minutes in the car.
That's horrific for somebody at 28 years of age. And I'm sure you still had ambitions of maintaining your playing career as well. So clearly that was sidelined during this injury.
Yeah. I mean, I was still kind of playing through and, missing a few sessions here, and then it had kind of settled down, and I take an insane amount of anti-inflammatories and, the good old-fashioned approach. But then it was just getting to the stage where you were kind of thinking, I'm 28 years of age, I'm kind of thinking, geez, I don't want to have a hip replacement in my 30s sort of thing.
And yet you were staring at that real possibility. Did you get scans done? Did you go through all the usual protocol?
I suppose I was in and out, had all my x-rays done, said there was a good bit of narrowing and whatnot in my joint, and that it wasn't in great shape. So it was, when you're still looking at hoping to knock another couple of years out of it,
So how educated did you get on your hip injury and on the physiological side of your body component that was causing you difficulty?
I suppose, like a lot of fellas, I didn't think too much about it, if the truth be told. I looked, did your little bit of a Google search, got a little bit of background on it, but was just, I suppose, just trying to avoid the dreaded hip replacement at all costs,
Was it a huge step for you then when you were introduced to Mr. Carton about maybe the next step in your life? I mean, were there any trepidation there that, okay, this injury and the treatment of it might be the end of my career? Or were you thinking, well, I need to get back to some quality of life here that'll even allow me to drive a car to Dublin?
I suppose at that point I was just hoping to keep playing a bit of ball and just not be in kind of fairly kind of constant pain and whatnot. Went down to Dr. Carton, he did the x-ray, did whatnot, told me about the procedure, the fact that it was keyhole, and the fact that it was, that I had a little, I suppose spur on my hip, that he was planning to go in and shave down, and that was my understanding, my very uneducated understanding of it, you know.
So in terms of the process then, I mean, did it take long in terms of, you know, pre-diagnosis to getting the actual operation done, and then you getting back to what you felt was full fitness again?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think I met Dr. Carton maybe prior to Christmas, got the op done in maybe early January, was on crutches for maybe a week, was back driving in maybe 2 weeks, and yeah, it's kind of been the difference between night and day since then, all right, in terms of, yeah, back, still playing, knocked another few years out of it, still enjoying it, and yeah, a bit more bullish on the future in terms of not being in a lot of bother down the tracks, you know.
So in terms of how you played the games then, I mean, would you have seen rugby contributing to your hip troubles more so than Gaelic games, or, you know, did you have to change your approach?
No, not necessarily that it was sport specific or whatnot, but I just felt it was just as a result of big mileage. I was doing a good bit of road running in the off season as well. As I said, was very naive in terms of rest, you know, rehabilitation,
stretching,
even diet and nutrition. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the typical young fella out, go kicking balls the minute training started, and yeah, no warm down, straight in, scalp of pints on a Friday and Saturday night, and Bob's your uncle, you know.
Yeah. Now that you're 37, obviously you've said that this is well behind you now. Are you feeling any after effects, or is there any indication at all that problems may arise again in the future?
I mean, thankfully, touch wood, everything seems pretty good now. I was down to Dr. Carton there. I'd go down once a year to have a look at things. He seems to feel like it's stabilised, and is happy with the progress, you know. So as I said to you earlier, I think I'll probably have to pack in playing because I'm fat, old and slow, as opposed to having no option but to pack it in, you know.
I think there's a few years left in you yet, but listen, thanks for telling the story. Damien Joyce, everybody. Thank you so much, Damien. Well done.